Hi, this is Nick Howley from the Houston Roughnecks, and this is the XFL show.
Welcome, football fans. This is still awards season. This is for the love of football, and this is the XFL show. I'm Alan.
And I'm Bryant.
And, well, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, the great John Wooden once said, Bryant. So today, we need to really focus, get fired up, and count down those who had their teams ready to win in XFL 2020. Ready and executing. This is episode 126, counting down the Coach of the Year, Bryant. This is the one I've been waiting for.
Coach of the Year. Wow. This is the one you've been waiting for. What's the one I've been waiting for too, Alan? We've been fortunate enough to have most of these coaches on this show interviewed at some point in time. So I'm glad we get to count down because they've been putting in some hard work. They put in a lot of work, a lot of preparation, putting their squads together, putting their teams together, putting their coaching staffs together, general managers, lunches, dinners, I'm sure. It was a very intense job this year for them.
Oh, yeah. And this is a coach's league, Bryant. I mean, let's face it. The NBA is a players' league, right? Everyone watches that for the players. The NFL, everyone watches it just because that's the NFL. And the XFL, I feel like we learned in 5 weeks, it's all about those personalities on the sidelines. For me, as a football fan, I mean, now we're seeing coaches like Sean Payton on Twitter start putting their own plays out there because what they saw in the XFL. This is revolutionary. This is what this league was all about. These 8 coach general managers, don't forget, these are coach GMs that put their teams together, went on the sidelines, put it all out there, exposed themselves, as it were, and something that's never been done before. It was fascinating, and I commend all 8 of them, but we're only going to count down 5 of them today.
Well, we're trending towards that 5, right? That's where we're keeping it, 5 of the 8, but all of them did a great job. We'll get into all that too, Alan, because it was a good job by all 8 coaches, but 5 stood out probably more than the rest. But we got a very intense show.
I just got screwed up.
Hey, where are my glasses? Am I supposed to put glasses on this episode? Hold on.
No, that was last episode.
So my glasses cute?
Defense and Jerry
last episode,
Glanville.
okay.
Yeah, that was. If you have a Dragons windbreaker or a generic XFL jacket, you can do that for Jim Zorn. But they got the hat. He's got the hat, everybody. All right, well, we're settling in. We're counting down.
If you notice, Alan, my glasses are still here because I haven't gone outside, by the way. Stay inside, everyone.
If you notice, I'm ready today for replays. We need an instant replay.
I don't think that's the remote control.
On this show, we use Super Nintendo controllers instead of the Xbox controllers, like the guys in the booth in the XFL. Be why
it takes us an hour to start this show beyond start time. It makes sense. Totally makes sense. Then.
Hold on, I gotta pause my Mega Man game over here real quick. I forgot to do that before the game started. All right, so we're counting down the top 5 coaches of the year, culminating with our Coach of the Year. But if you missed any of our other countdowns we've done yet, you got to check them out. They're on XFL.com, XFL YouTube, on this podcast feed if you're listening to the podcast, Brian. We've done our favorite moments. We've done Offensive Player of the Year. We've done Defensive Player of the Year. Now we're on the Coach. We've got MVP coming up. It's award season. It's been a lot of fun. There's also bracketology going on that we're going to talk about in just a little bit. So a lot for you to interact with as you probably...
My bracket's busted.
Yeah, my bracket is pristine. Never lost in my bracketology this year. And you know what? Probably going to be hitting the winner in the bracketology we talk about in just a little bit, Brian, as well, on XFL.com. I have a feeling at least. But if you missed any of those shows, they're all up there. And we know a lot of you are in seclusion or just, practicing social distancing, which means hanging out in the house a lot. And if you need something to get through the day, get your mind back onto some sports, even though some of them aren't going on, we've got you covered here on This is the XFL show. We have not stopped, Bryant, putting a lot of time and energy into these lists, into putting these shows together. And we do have a little bit of news. We're going to check in with some XFL players who are jumping to the NFL. And we're also going to have a guest on as we talk to XFL fans from around the league. We've hit a few cities already, Bryant. We're going to go to Houston, the Houston area. The Houston area in quotes. Not really Houston at all, but the Houston Roughnecks nation. It's a nation when you're undefeated. We're going to talk to a hardcore Roughnecks fan and get a glimpse at what it was like to root for the undefeated, never lost Houston Roughnecks with Clint Domingue, who's my good friend who I worked with down in Louisiana in local radio, Bryant. He's a talker, so just heads up. He's going to be blabbing a lot, but he's a good talker, and he's a hardcore Roughnecks fan, so we're going to get the word from him on what it was like rooting for the best team in the XFL.
Yeah, it was some good perspective from a Houston area fan. We asked him when he exactly jumped on the bandwagon. I think there's some question marks out there of when somebody jumped on that Houston Roughnecks bandwagon. But still, we're making our way around the league, talking to fans from coast to coast, really. We'll see who we hit up next. But if you want to be on the show, hit up that fan line, 724-5654-XFL. You can be on this show. We'll play your call and maybe even give you a call on Skype. And you can actually be on the show. Be on the show. Make our boxes smaller so people don't see us too much. And then you'd be down there at the bottom.
There you go. You could be in this beautiful overlay that we have going on these days in our fancy new studio setup, Bryant. My studio's been getting a ton of praise by everybody, and everyone still says, "What kind of boring studio are you in?" Jeez, man, get something in the background.
I have a child.
Well, put some pictures
up.
Of
work.
I don't know. I'm snoozing over here looking at you. I'm up to my knees in diapers and wipes. Come on, Alan. I don't want to. Yeah, you're right. I don't need to see that.
You want me to post that up on the walls?
The mountain of used baby
if I go
wipes.
to the baby's nursery, plenty on the walls. I don't think you want me to be putting on these walls. So let's just move on.
All right. Yeah. So check those shows out from last week. We've got those still up. They'll be up for all eternity for you to check them out, see who won Defensive and Offensive Player of the Year, Moment of the Year. And, they're on XFL.com as well in blog form. So check them out. Have a lot of fun with those. Let's dink and dunk real quick, Bryant, around the XFL. At XFL shows where you could reach us, and we're on Twitter, and I'm voting on these brackets, Brian. I'm interacting with fans still as I'm holed up here, and people are reaching out to us, and I love some of the reaction we got to one of our fan interviews. We talked to Drew, a hardcore Battlehawks fan in St. Louis, and I love this from @RichMars, who said, "Nice to have a fan on there to talk about their experience on the St. Louis fan base. I was interested to know for sure." So that's what we're hitting with these segments. Hopefully we'll get some Houston people interested in what Clint has to say about the Roughnecks here in just a little bit.
Well, that's part of the reason why we're doing these, right? To get fans interested into why other fans are interested in the XFL. And Drew, he's been a day oneer. We've talked about it many times. He was with us for a very long time. I want to say even before St. Louis said they would have a team. And Drew gave his great perspective on the city of St. Louis, and Rich Mars giving us his perspective on us having a fan on this show. We were fans at one point too, Alan. We still are. We are super fans, I guess is what we've been dubbed as sometimes.
I think we hit a home run with this. I like this, checking in with the fan bases. It's fun because we still would be in the middle, in the season right now, talking trash amongst each other, puffing. Everyone's puffing their chest. But if you go online, a lot of it's we miss the XFL, and this is a good segment to check in with the fan bases and get their perspective on the experience, because it was definitely an experience and a positive one at that. Here's some more. I like this one's really good. Reaction to one of our countdowns, Bryant. This is from @HeHateMeXFL on Twitter. Not Rod Smart, though. He clarifies that. He says, "We all know PJ Walker won all the awards. Quit playing."
He can't win Defensive Player of the Year.
You can make the argument. I'm not going to argue that you can't argue that. I'm not going to side with you on all of them, but definitely PJ Walker deserves many awards for his season in the XFL.
He does. I will give him that. I think there's certain categories that he might not qualify for. Maybe just didn't have enough plays on the defensive side of the football. I think he only threw 4 interceptions, so really that's only 4 defensive plays for the man. Give the man a break.
It's
But
wrong.
you know what? He hate me XFL. I get what you're saying though. PJ Walker was a great talent. Sad to see him go, but happy where he's going to be in 2020 and beyond.
Yes, sir. Thanks for that. At He Hate Me. Thanks to Rich. Thanks to Drew. And thanks last week to Chad Dukes, who's talked about being a DC super fan. And now we're going to go to another radio guy right now, Bryant. And he won't mind that I tell you this. Not as big as Chad Dukes, Clint. He calls himself the famous Clint D or whatever. He's very famous in Lafayette, where I used to live and do sports talk radio. I worked with this bozo all the time, and he rode my coattails, and now he's a superstar down there. But I'm proud of him, and I'm excited for him to come on the show to talk about being a Roughnecks fan.
Alan, Clint, what's his last name?
Domain. It's Cajun.
Clint Domain. Okay, yes, all right. He's never going to be able to make it, unfortunately. Clint, I love Clint. Me and him go way back now too. Because if he wants to make it in LA, he's gonna have to change that name because really it's Clint Domingue.
Yeah. In LA, it's
out here in LA. It's not Clint Domain.
Yeah, well,
yes.
you be the judge on how you want to
great perspective.
Pronounce his name, but listen up to Clint. He's got good perspective on being a Roughnecks fan from not too far, but not in H-Town. He's part of a crew that would get together and watch all the Roughnecks games because I lived in Lafayette. They have a lot of fans of the Houston teams there, going back to the Oilers, even I know you'll call them the cheating Astros. They have a fan base there for Houston teams. And he said they all jumped on the Roughnecks bandwagon, I guess, before they started winning all those games. And he's going to talk right now about being a Roughnecks fan here as we check in with some XFL fandoms here on This Is the XFL Show. We've been checking in with XFL fandoms over the last few episodes, Bryant. Now we're going to take it down to, Houston Roughneck Nation, but not Houston itself because, Roughneck fandom spans a little bit further out than H-Town. We're going to go to Lafayette, Louisiana. Talk to Clint Domain, a good friend of mine who's known in those parts as the famous Clint D or CD. I don't know what he's going by these days. I know he's got a big quarantine beard. What's up, Clint?
Not much, Alan. I've been doing good. Absolutely enjoying myself here in Lafayette, Louisiana, in, as we call it, lockdown here inside the 103.7 The Game penitentiary.
Yeah. Clint's a fellow radio man like me, Brian. So I got out of radio to podcast so I could be stuck at home. He's still stuck at the station.
Yeah. Alan, it's like this is the only place I can be, Alan. I'm essential.
Essential to the show. Alan, you mentioned Roughnecks Nation spanning wide. At 5-0, I'm sure that spans all over the place. Clint, when did you actually become a Roughnecks fan? Week 3, week 4?
4, 5. Yeah, when did you jump on the bandwagon, Clint?
The second the logo came out, Alan. The second we found out about the Houston Roughnecks, when they came out, it would be I'm almost so close to being cease and desisted with their Houston Roughnecks logo looking eerily similar to the Houston Oilers gimmick back in the Gap. But I was a fan of them from Jump Street because it was the closest team to me.
It was the closest team to you, and I'm hearing from all my friends down in Louisiana that the Roughnecks, not only because they were good, but because of the logo, because of the personnel getting ready for the season, there was a lot of buzz going into it, and then they ended up delivering 5-0. Talk about what you and some of your friends you were watching XFL football with thought of the Roughnecks and how you all enjoyed it.
Well, they enjoyed it. Like, everybody enjoyed it. Team Mark over in Church Point, he was constantly texting me, like, man, what about this team? Like, this team is absolutely outstanding. I think a big reason why this fan base was all in on them was not only because of the fact they're in Houston, the closest team to the Acadiana area, but also one of our own. And Raheem Malone, SMU transferred over to the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, jumped over. He wound up having a pretty good debut, 4 receptions, I believe, 15 yards in that game. He still was able to put up some decent numbers. But at the end of the day, the story of P.J. Walker out of nowhere, absolutely great story all the way around for him.
P.J. Walker was the man, and he's now in the NFL. We're sad to see him go, but I mean, watching him
with the
what he was
damn
doing-
Carolina Panthers.
I know you don't like that as a Saints fan either, but what he did with the Roughnecks was special. I mean, how about PJ Walker? Who did he liken? You liken him to any other quarterback you've ever seen? Is he? I've been saying he's like reminds me of like the second coming of Brett Favre. He was kind of reckless, but he never really came to bite him.
Oh, I would definitely say a Brett Favre comparison is apropos. I think another comparison for me, I think Mike Vick, the Madden 04 Mike Vick, because that guy was just absolutely outstanding. It felt like if there was an XFL game, PJ Walker would be 99 overall.
I could get with that, and he would be on the cover, and there would be no curse either, Brian.
Yes.
It would just be the PJ Walker. It's what you want. It's what you on the cover of the game.
You got to give the people what they want.
Clint, we're going to get into coaches here as we're giving away our Coach of the Year award here pretty soon. What about June Jones, man? You get to hear his play calling, what he was talking about. Didn't like referees very much. Doubt he took any of them to dinner after the games. What about June Jones? Did he make an impression on you as much as he has on this show?
Oh, June Jones is absolutely the best for me. He's undisputed Coach of the Year. If there was a Football Writers Association of America for the XFL, that he would get all the votes for Coach of the Year. Not just for what he was able to do on the field, but his banter back and forth with the referees, telling one of the referees you shouldn't even be in the league is absolutely outstanding. Roger Goodell would have none of that.
Yeah, that's only in the XFL you get to see stuff like that, and June Jones with the referees. My favorite.
Wait, Alan, Roger Goodell wouldn't put a cup of into the beer snake? You're telling me that?
Definitely not. That would not happen at all.
He would not allow the beer snake.
I doubt it. And you know what? The best rivalry was June Jones versus the referees, I think, in the XFL. Clint, what stood out most of all about the XFL to you? Why did you enjoy it so much?
I think the thing that stood out the most to me, Alan, and I'll give you two things. The first one is obviously what happened with the XFL and when it came to sports betting. The way they managed to do things with the spreads, the over-unders, putting it on the broadcast, being the first group of like an actual professional league, being able to put that on their programming. Because guess what? We're degenerate gamblers. We're going to gamble on these things, be it legally or illegally. And I think we'll wind up seeing a lot more states adopt legalized sports betting after this whole COVID-19 stuff is finally over. And I think we'll wind up seeing it be used more and more. Another part of it was just the transparency of it all. We saw during those replays, during the reviews, you saw the guy out there with the Xbox controller and seeing how everything was done step by step, making sure you knew exactly how the sausage was made. That's exactly how you want to do things. If you're the XFL or any other league, show us how you're getting to these like reviews and how you're determining whether or not the call is going to stand or if it's going to be overturned.
Actually, Brian, hold on. Let me go back in the review real quick and see if that was a sufficient answer from Clint. I'm looking at this, and yeah,
I'm more interested on that one thing. How we make the sausage. Can you just review that statement?
And why would you say sausage, Clint? You're down in the KDN. What about boudin? We want to know how the boudin is made.
The boudin is made. Oh man, even I don't know how the boudin is made. It's all about how the sausage being made is easy.
So
boudin is a whole different level.
So the team being in Houston, you're in Louisiana. You said you watched all the games with friends. Everybody was talking about the XFL in Lafayette, at least. Do you think? I mean, obviously, I think you would probably want a team in Louisiana, but having one in Houston close by is pretty nice, right? And you're going to be rooting for the Roughnecks moving forward.
I'll be rooting for the Roughnecks moving forward because it doesn't seem like expansion is going to be in the cards for 2021. If the season had managed to complete and you wound up having the XFL championship game in Houston, I think you and I both are very disappointed in the fact we weren't able to be at the. Was it going to be called the $1 Million Game, or was this just the XFL championship game?
It was going to be just the XFL championship game, but I would have seen you down there, Clint. I was looking forward to it as well.
Exactly. I mean, you're not going to see expansion. You're not going to see a team in Louisiana, at least not anytime soon. I know there is definitely a movement to get one in New Orleans. Personally, Lafayette, Louisiana, would love to have that. Cajun Field would be packed way more than maybe some Cajuns football games. Oh, did I say that out loud? But I'm absolutely loving what I've been seeing lately from the XFL all season long. Mind you, it was only 5 weeks, but it was still some damn good football.
I think we leave it at that, Brian. I think that was well said. Clint, you're on the road to 2021. Pace yourself, and we'll be definitely seeing you down in Houston at TDECU Stadium for a game next season.
All right, Alan, go Tigers.
See you, Clint.
All right, guys.
Thanks to Clint Domingue for talking Houston Roughnecks. Houston Roughnecks, #1. They were undefeated, and Clint was on the bandwagon. But he said from the start, because of the logo, which I totally understand, great logo. And Bryant, there you heard it from probably the fan base. I mean, nobody likes the team that's winning. So obviously this is a fan base that, at least online, some people were like, oh, those Roughnecks fans are at it again. But I was totally fine with them and thought they did a great job and were very honorable.
Clint was very honorable, I will say that. Although, no, it was a solid fan base. They showed up by the thousands.
Hold on.
When the Roughnecks
Hold
played.
on. Let's take this to a replay. Did I detect sarcasm in this from Bryant? Hold on. We're rolling back. No, we're clear. We're going to resume the segment. And, the play stands is confirmed. Play stands is called. Stands is called. All right, let's move on.
But it was great for Clint to actually get into this. I appreciate his time.
You don't have to thank Clint. He's our friend. We don't have to thank him too much. Thanks a lot, Clint. We appreciate it. Thanks for the perspective.
You owe me $20, Clint.
On being a Houston Roughnecks fan. Let's move on now to this week's Cover 2.
All day long, great focus, great intensity.
All right, first up, Bryant, we got these top moments brackets. Now, we did our own personal show version of the best moments of 2020, and we cast a wide net, different kinds of moments. It doesn't have to be one play. These moments that are in the brackets on XFL.com, and you can vote on them in Twitter. This round, I believe, ends a day from us recording this on a late Monday night, so plenty of time to continue to vote. This is a process. It's a bracket. It's in top 8. You're going to go to 4, down to 2, and 1 winner. Our winner is in this bracket, Bryant, but all the other plays we did not have on our show, so that's why it's totally different, and it's really fun. As voters, we're getting to dive into this thing. You want to watch some of these plays here and go through what's up here on the XFL's top moment brackets up on Twitter that everyone could vote on?
Yeah, I mean, Alan, I've seen these plays multiple times, 100 times probably already, just because I've covered these games so much. But we can watch them again one more time. I don't mind it.
Let's do it. First up, we'll look at the number 4, number 5 moments up in the XFL top moments brackets.
Go. That one picked off. He threw it behind Hamlet and right into the arms of Tavarius McFadden, who's down the sideline with an escort and into the end zone for the touchdown.
Cornelius lost the football. LA's found it. Boogie Roberts, boogie on down. A 23-yard return for the big fella.
Got to vote for Boogie Roberts between these two, right, Brian? I mean, I don't want to sway anyone's opinion, but we're pretty biased for the big guy from L.A.
That was just a tremendous play, though. I mean,
it was a great play.
A 40-yard dash or 30-yard dash, whatever it was for the big fella, was a long ways to go. It was a lot of fun. Watch that one live too. That was a lot of fun to see.
Oh, I'm very jealous. Well, let's go to number 3 versus number 6. I was at the moment that is nominated for number 3. Number 6 was a damn backbreaker too. This is a tough one to vote for.
Carnell Jones. They flip. Back to Rogers. Back to Jones. A man wide open down the sideline. It's Kari Lee. 5. Goal line. Touchdown. DC defenders.
Ball batted in the air and intercepted. That certainly won't help. Ryan Mueller, he takes it in for the score.
How'd you vote?
I think I'm going to go with the flea flicker. It was just so pretty. So beautiful. So much preparation on that
Great
play.
preparation and week 1. I mean, anything that happens in week 1, very sentimental, Bryant. Tough to vote against. That's what I went with as well, and I bet that's what wins. What are the odds up? Can we put the odds up? Does Vegas have odds on the
We're at the call. Vegas is actually closed at the moment.
Yeah.
So no.
Damn. All right. Well, we could go to number 2 versus number 7. And I was doing this earlier with the Clint interview, showing off my PJ sidearm. That is one of these nominees going up against Keenan Reynolds of the Seattle Dragons.
Walker pumps again, still looking, dancing, firing. It's caught for the touchdown. A bullet to Cam Phillips for 6.
His movement in the pocket, KB, that's his game. What a talent.
Here's Silvers to pass. Over the middle, he's got a man wide open, Keenan Reynolds, and that's the way to answer. All the way to the house. They answer a 78-yard pick six with a 68-yard touchdown pass.
Isn't it awkward that the Vipers' top pick is also the play right before this one?
How do you mean?
The Vipers' top play was a pick that was from the same game, and then the next play, they throw this touchdown. The Seattle Dragons throw this touchdown.
Oh, wow. I didn't even realize that. You're right. That was a great game, though.
See? 1,000 times. I'm telling you, I've watched this 1,000 times. I know the
Brian's
sequence
watched
of events
them
here.
a whole lot. Let's go down to number 1 versus number 8. The top-ranked moment so far going into this, coming from St. Louis's region, I guess we'll call it, the Battlehawks region, taking on the Renegades. We were at this one that's number 1, Brian. It won our top moment on the show. This is really for the number 1 play of the year, but also you're talking about, the most unlikely probably play of the entire season. It's Landry Jones versus the return during the return of football in St. Louis.
At the opposite 30. Can't move to the ball. He's fielded. And here goes Keith Mumphrey. And they're going to turn it around with room on the near side. And for the first time, they get creative. And the Battlehawks have the sideline. And a kickoff return for Joe Powell to the end zone. Touchdown, St. Louis.
And that one slotted down back to Jones. You can throw 2 forward passes in this league, and he does, and connects with Lance Dunbar.
Unbelievable savvy from Landry Jones. Hop stoops, loves it. Ball is batted back to him.
I want to know how you're going to blame that on Jim Zorn.
What? What did I blame on Jim Zorn?
How are you going to blame the Dragons for letting Landry Jones throw a double forward pass by himself on
It's
Jim
the angle
Jim
of the
Zorn?
hand. If you go up with your hand angled at a 45-degree angle. So you got to teach him to go down with the other, the negative 45 instead of the positive 45. That was an accident. Come on. And plus, football returns to St. Louis. How does that not win everything?
It was a beautiful moment. Well, we'll see what wins. You could vote right now on Twitter at XFL 2020. The best moments bracket is up and live going through the rest of the week. So we've been keeping tabs on it, and we're down to the Elite 8 in our brackets. We get brackets in March going into early April. It's what we all were, not exactly what we were hoping for in that regard, but still it's XFL, and it's a whole lot of fun. So check it out, and we'll be keeping up to date with that as well. See how it compares to our moments as well, maybe on a future episode when this bracket is completely played through. Bryant, let's go to part 2 here of our cover 2 and check in with some XFL players going to the NFL. We've already talked about a plethora of them, a bunch of our favorite XFL players getting a crack at the NFL, getting contracts, getting more, going to get invites to training camp. And we have 2 more to talk about here. First up, defensive end from Pitt, baby, Dwayne Hendricks, who played for the Battlehawks, had a sack, played pretty well for the Battlehawks, a part of one of the best defense, the best defense in the XFL, if you ask me. He's going to the Steelers, sign a 1-year contract there, among many other XFL players, like we talked about last week, Bryant, getting a shot at Steelers training camp in Latrobe, and that's a Pitt guy too, so I'm super excited for that personally. But another big one is linebacker Edmund Robinson, who really tore it up for the Roughnecks, along DeMarquise Gates. Those 5 weeks, those two guys were all over the place for one of the better defenses as well.
No, you're right. You got yourself a good one there going into the Steelers camp with Dwayne Hendricks and then Edmund Robinson causing some havoc for teams on the Roughnecks side for sure. Alan, we're going to see these lists grow and grow. We keep saying that every single week. I think the one thing that we have to keep in mind right now is roster or training camp invites. And I think that is where you're going to see once these XFL contracts run out, teams are going to start issuing these training camp invites, where are non-guaranteed deals, just kind of a spot in camp that players get. And I think a lot of XFL players will be headed that way once this contract runs out, which I believe would be 2 weeks.
The end of, I believe we're going through to May when they're officially, the planned end of the contracts. We don't know exactly if anything was adjusted because of the end of the season, but you're going to see more and more players get the opportunities. These guys right now are getting signed to the NFL that we've seen so far, and we'll see who else makes the jump, who else will be in camps come summer. Obviously, we're also going to be sitting back and seeing if camps happen as planned there and what the offseason is going to look like for both the NFL and the XFL in that regard. Bryant, we're on this road to 2021, and I got to admit, feels like a bigger question mark than the road to 2020, and that was for the start of the first season. This one, I have no earthly idea what to expect, but I'm ready for anything. Last year prepared me.
Last year prepared you for what we're expecting this year. I guarantee you that anything we did last year
for the unknown, I'm just saying the anticipation.
Oh, for the unknown. So you're prepared for the unknown. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm prepared for the unknown. It's a much more sinister unknown than the unknown of an exciting first season. But the unknown here being, will we have an off season that is happening as scheduled? We'll see. But as of now, yes, and we're keeping track of it all here on This Is the XFL Show. Some more players signing on to the NFL, and we'll keep you up to date on all that as well. Of course, check on Twitter, and we're talking about them as they happen there, and then, of course, running through them here on the program. Bryant, we've reached that moment in the show. The cover two's done. You know what comes next? Do you?
App?
Do you know what comes next? Huh?
App?
Yeah, the XFL app. Yeah. Yeah, you thought I was going to say countdown. No, not just yet. Hold your horsies. We need to remind everyone to download the official XFL app, which is free to get in the Google Play Store or your Apple Store. And you could download it and get the latest XFL news. A really cool video went out this week thanking fans from damn near everybody in the league. It was really heartfelt, brought a tear to my eye. And you could watch that on the XFL app. It's right there. It's the XFL in the palm of your hand. You could customize it to your favorite team. And when we do kick off in 2021, you'll be able to use it as an in-stadium go-to app for everything you need XFL. It is your source for everything XFL. It's the official XFL app. Download it for free today. App happened, Bryant. Now do you know what comes next?
Shop.
No. That we'll tell people about in just a little bit. XFL Shop's very cool as well. It's time for the countdown. Yes, the next countdown here on awards season. We need an award season theme song, or you could play the trumpet, can't you? Play some trumpet. No. Hum us a theme song. Brian's the best at this. Yeah, some Europe.
Really good.
All right, so there we go. It's countdown time. Next up for one of our countdowns here in award season, Coach of the Year, Bryant. We have 8 to choose from, and we're going to whittle it to 5. Now, that means 3 guys are getting left off this list, but really it's all about who's in that number 1 spot, our Coach of the Year. We're going to talk about some of our favorite coaching/general manager performances, though, of this season. Remember, their job started way before February.
Oh, yeah, their job started from the day they got hired. You got to remember they were instrumental in that 70-round player draft from back in October So a lot of work for these coaches, all the way back to the summer showcases too, Alan. Remember those once upon a time as well. So we're breaking down the coaches. I don't know what you use as your personal criteria. Mine was kind of leadership, performance, as well as, just overall, how did their team react to his coaching, to their coaching, right? To what they did. Their coaching staffs too.
I like all that stuff. I considered all that stuff, Bryant, but I also throw in how they handled adversity, because we saw a few coaches do that as well, and how just well-oiled they had their teams. And we'll see how it all shook out here in our list. If you're ready for number 5, we could get to number 5. Do you want number 5 right now?
Yes.
You want number 5? I'm going to give it to you right now. In our top coaches of 2020, it's another XFL countdown.
On a grand stage, we have like a dinner tables, people around. June Jones is going to come up and walk up and say, "Mahalo to everyone who gave me this award." Like that, how cool does that sound?
It's going to be great. I cannot wait. I love it. June Jones, our coach of the year, Bryant.
Should we go to Ritz? What do you think? Where should we go, Ritz?
What?
In New York, maybe? Where should we go? I'm thinking the Ritz.
Oh,
Carlton,
for our
maybe?
award show?
Or is there
no, we want to do it at the theater at MSG. I've always wanted to be on that stage, right there with those cool lights in there. I'm going to be in there. Hold on. Let's replay that again. Did we really put? We didn't put Jim Zorn on here. I'm looking back on the highlights. Jim Zorn did a great. Balls were bouncing back to quarterbacks he was facing hands, and they got to throw double forward passes. Jim Zorn, I definitely want to see him in this league again too, Bryant. Stoops, Zorn, and Trestman did not make our list, but doesn't take away from the jobs those guys did. The thing you could say about all the coaches in this league, all the teams, all 8 of them competitive. There were 0 pushovers in 5 weeks.
Oh yeah, 0.
They were all competitive. The parity was truly there. That's because of the work the coaches / general managers did.
I will say this, Alan, because we're going to get some criticism for that, because I agree with you. There were 0 pushovers. But what I mean by that, because you had your blowouts, you had your New York getting killed, you had your DC getting killed, you had your Vipers getting killed, you had those games. But what we're trying to say is you couldn't assume that those teams were getting killed, because if you assumed that DC was going to get killed in week 3 by LA, you were wrong.
Big time.
You were right, but that was no way you guessed that. No way you guessed that. Because that's how well these coaches were. Alan, great job. You know what? Jim Zorn had to call plays, something that he was not planning to do starting come kickoff. Trestman,
exactly.
His team couldn't score in the red zone. They were doing so well. Great team, just couldn't score in the red zone. Landry Jones goes down. What are you going to do? You lose your offensive coordinator. Bob Stoops. These are all great. They had a lot. It's just top 5. That's all it is. So we'll leave it at that. Alan.
June Jones is number 1. That's what we'll leave it at. With a bullet, yes. June Jones wins it. Coming up, though,
June Jones.
We've got MVP to give away on the next episode, Bryant.
MVP is going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you check that out. Give us your take, #XFL Show Awards on Twitter or on all social media platforms. Follow us at XFL Show. Let us know what you think of our top 5 awards that we've given away so far. That is Coach, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and Moment. You also have the brackets up there, so make sure you check those out as well.
Definitely.
Subscribe and listen to us every single. Subscribe today. Tell your friends. Listen to us every single Tuesday morning, Friday morning on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or your preferred podcast app. And you can watch us. I just like waving at the camera now. Jordan Smallwood.
Yep. Oh, we got to do it. Yep. All right. Well, we got to get out of here. We're done, right? Can I get back to
I was going to say also watch us on XFL.com, YouTube.com/XFL, the official YouTube page of the XFL.
Did you say the website right? Let me get hold on. One more instant replay. All right, I'm looking back here. You're good.
Why are you holding that like a 1985's game? What are you doing?
This is some of them held. Did you notice that some of them held the Xbox controller a little odd?
Not one did that.
They did this.
I've watched these games 1,000 times. Not one did that.
Did you notice they did this? No. I knew a guy one time who played it upside down because he was left-handed.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you about that off air.
We
gotta go. All right, that's it. We're done. Thanks for listening to another award show episode of This is the XFL Show. We've got MVP coming up, like Bryant said, and make sure you vote in those brackets as well. That's a lot of fun on XFL Twitter. Keep it locked to the XFL app, XFL.com. Plenty of action going on as we're all self-quarantining, or as they say here in Pittsburgh, quarantine. We're quarantined. We're still talking XFL with you, baby, at XFL
Yins
Show.
are weird.
We are. All right. For Bryant, I'm Alan. Let's get out of here, and we'll see you next episode to talk MVP. This is the XFL Show. Remember, they're listening.